Warm greetings from the high 10. It's Everyday Shenanigans. Thanks for joining me. Hope you all are well out there. Have a safe weekend. If you see something, say something. Mind the children. This commentary is pertaining to the victims of the Uvalde shooting. The parents have filed a $100 million lawsuit regarding the late response to getting the teachers and children out of the classroom. The chief has spoken, the Texas Tribune. I will bring you that commentary. It's very lengthy, so please bear with the commentary. He's defending the late response of he and the police officers. I will read you the said information verbatim per interview given through his attorney to the Texas Tribune. And also will bring you commentary pertaining to parents wanting the school to be demolished. For those of you who are movie fans, Obsessed to Death is my movie of the week. I brought it late. Sorry about that. It's on my community post. I couldn't find a trailer for the movie. I finally found it last night. I posted it to the community board. Please check it out. It is a thriller about a woman who's become obsessed with the new girlfriend of a guy that she briefly dated. Very good movie, now playing on Tubi. My Friday night delight is Body of Sin, 2018 movie. Please check out the trailer, also playing on Tubi. And it's pertaining to two women who are friends, and they're in the conning business of taking men's valuables, meeting up with them, taking their personal effects. It's a very interesting thriller, and it is also playing on Tubi. So tonight, if you all are bored and you have nothing to do, no plans, you want something to watch, tune in to Body of Sin. That's my Friday night delight. And movie of the week is Obsessed to Death, also playing on Tubi as well. Two movies playing on Tubi, Obsessed to Death and Body of Sin. If you need verification for the information, please check out my community post if you're indeed interested in those said movies. Thank you all so much for joining me. Hello, everybody. Hello, Diane. Hello, Esley. Hello, Flouncy. Hi, sweetheart. How are you? Thank you all so much. Yes, it's been a while. Thank you all so much. This is going to be a winded live because the information I'm going to bring to you is going to be a play-by-play of what happened in Uvalde, allegedly by the mouth of Arredondo. First commentary is pertaining to the lawsuit filed by the parents of the victims. Law and Crime is the source. Excuse me. 1 minute. Thank you all so much for joining me. Welcome, everybody in the chat. Thank you for joining me. Hope you all are well. Have a happy weekend. Be safe.
And there's a lot of law to consider, and it's not an easy 1, 2, 3 solution. And it's as if someone's just being stubborn, and you flip a switch and it all ends. I want to give you, we have about 90 seconds just to flip it over to the lawsuit for a second by the families of the children who were severely wounded in the shooting. Walk me through the likelihood of success of this case and maybe even the damages award.
Well, I mean, this is going to be a civil case against the estate of the shooter, and the estate's in the position of the individual. So I think it's a likely victory. It's a likely sizable victory, but it's probably an empty victory because of this individual's background. It's you're not talking about Remington, you're talking about the estate of Ramos. So in that respect, I think that it may be necessary. It's unfortunate these children have to be pushed through or subjected to that process, but they are going to have to be if there's no resolution or settlement. I don't know how there can be a settlement here in this case.
Yeah, and it's definitely sending a message, that's for sure. So maybe in combination with all of this, there could be some action taken. Not entirely sure. This is a story that is as tragic As important as anyone that we've covered, and we're going to continue to follow it here on Law and Crime and see any kind of developments that happen in terms of obviously this lawsuit, but perhaps changes in regulations and laws. And we promise we will continue to cover it. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll focus on some more of the other cases.
All right, everybody, that's Law and Crime Network. As this one gentleman has said in this commentary, he doesn't see how it can come to fruition. The lawsuit. Well, naturally, we know they can't sue the victim. I mean, not the victim, but the suspect, because he didn't have anything. Can't sue his parents, grandparents. They don't have anything. So naturally, they would be suing the school district. And everybody knows the school district has insurance. The city has insurance. So naturally, that's who they're going to be suing. It's the city of Uvalde. We will see how it plays out. What will happen? Do they have a case to sue the city, the school district, for failure and delay in response to getting the children and the teachers out of the room? Thank you for joining me. This is Everyday Shenanigans. The next commentary I'm going to play is pertaining to the school being demolished. 20 hours ago, there was a vigil. Let me start by saying in Atlanta, prayers to Mr. Orr's family, the rapper Trouble. There was a vigil held yesterday honoring rapper Trouble. And I thought I'd let you all know that. It's posted to my community board. 11 Alive is the source. And also there was a shooting down in Alabama where a man tried to breach a school, and without hesitation, the security officer, which is also a police officer, made contact with the shooter and shot him dead. 11 Alive is also the source of that said information. It's posted to my community board. And if you also need further information, WVTM 13 News on my community post has the information. Thank you all so much for joining me. Just giving you a recap of the latest news here going on. Okay. KENS5, San Antonio news source, says parents of Uvalde shooting victim wants Robb Elementary to be torn down and replaced. Let's see what this parent has to say. Thank you all so much for joining me.
I'm out here just to support.
Elementary school only continue to grow. The father of Jacqueline Casares says students and teachers should not have to go back inside that building.
His daughter was one of the victims in the mass shooting last month. KENS 5 reporter Sarah Duran shares what's been done so far.
I'm out here just to support, you know what I mean, for Uvalde to stay strong.
Rebuilding Uvalde.
As one community, as a big family here, we're going to get through it.
Back to what this small Texas town used to be.
We're going to get back to be strong.
Alex Covarrubias knows it'll take time. Javier Cáceres knows it'll take change.
She loved her friends and, they're all here.
Cáceres' daughter Jacqueline was inside Robb Elementary on May 24th. She was among the 21 victims who died in the shooting rampage.
For the kids and the teachers, they shouldn't have to go back to that school.
He wants the school torn down, echoing similar calls for demolition by elected officials. Over the weekend, Congressman Tony Gonzalez wrote he is working with many private and public partners to ensure no child will ever have to return. Senator Roland Gutierrez says President Biden offered to secure a federal grant for demolition. As for rebuilding,
I'm going to be pushing the president and the governor to work together to make sure that they're able to build them a new school.
That may take time, given the new school year starts August 15th. For now, the district is deciding how to realign school enrollment. In addition to working with private and public partners, Congressman Gonzalez says he asked for emergency federal grants to help with the upcoming school year in Uvalde. In San Antonio, Sarah Duran, KENS 5.
All right, everybody, that's KENS 5 San Antonio News. That is the father of one of the victims that died in the shooting. Little Jackie's father wants it torn down. But as I've told you all in my previous commentary, that the students will not be returning to that elementary school, Robb Elementary School. For those that do not know, the children will not be returning, or the teachers, staff, returning to that said school. Now we're going to get into the gritty side of this storyline. You're entitled to your opinion of what you think happened on May 24th. Who is responsible, not responsible? We know that Mr. Ramos was responsible because he was the shooter. But there had to be a response because that's just life. Law enforcement is hired to do a certain job, which is to protect and serve the community. And on that fateful day, the children and teachers were not protected in that classroom, plural, too. Do you think they were failed by the chief and their officers? It's a 6-man team, not a lot of officers. 1 chief and 5 members. And when I bring you the article, which is very winded, please listen to the details. You can chop it up however you want and decide for yourself what was appropriate protocol and what was not. Naturally, we were not there, but 1 hour is a very long time to breach a door to get to children and the teachers. The next commentary is pertaining to Arredondo's commentary. New details on why Uvalde police delayed entry into school during the shooting. Good morning, America is the source. ABC News. Thank you for joining me. If you'd like to donate to the channel, $ Big Angie, 129 Cash App. All super chats and stickers are welcome during this live. Thank you all so much for your support and following the content. Thank you.
Will be laid to rest this morning. This, as state investigators are now saying police delayed going into the classroom because they were waiting for protective gear to arrive. Maria Villarreal has the latest.
Overnight, Uvalde School's police chief Pete Arredondo defending police actions during the horrific mass shooting at Robb Elementary School in an interview with the Texas Tribune, saying the only thing that was important to me at this time was to save as many teachers and children as possible, adding not a single responding officer ever hesitated, even for a moment, to put themselves at risk to save the children. Arredondo says he ran straight inside the school without body armor, leaving his radio behind, claiming it would slow him down, and began searching rooms before coming up to the room the shooter was in. Without breaching equipment, he says they tried dozens of keys before finding the correct one. Without his radio, he says he was unaware of the 911 calls coming from students inside the classroom, and nobody relayed the information to him. But this morning, more details emerging about police response.
Is there anybody inside of the building? Is in the room full of victims.
Sources telling ABC News that in a preliminary assessment, state investigators believe that police officers delayed entry into the school as the shooting occurred because they were waiting for protective gear. It's a move that contradicts active shooter protocols that have been adopted by law enforcement agencies across the country. The New York Times also reporting that Chief Arredondo was one of the first officers to enter the school. According to the Times, more than a dozen of the 33 children and 3 teachers originally in the 2 classrooms remained alive during the 1 hour and 17 minutes from when the shooting began to when officers officially entered. An official telling ABC News Arredondo was overheard that day saying, "People are going to ask why we're taking so long." We've continued to ask if Chief Arredondo is on leave or if he is still working for the school district, but school district officials are refusing to answer that question right now. Back here in Austin, where we are, there is a state congressional committee that is continuing to review what happened in Uvalde. They'll hear from more witnesses and have more testimony and evidence presented to them early next week, and we will continue to follow this story. Guys?
We know you will, Maria. Thank you so much for that.
ABC News is the source. So, Arredondo is defending the delayed response. They couldn't find a key until the top of the hour. Still not good enough to those who lost their children. Teachers who died, 2 teachers. 21 victims. 19 children and 2 teachers died on May 24th in that schoolhouse. State congressional is meeting, talking to witnesses. What will become of this investigation by the state? Will they bring forth charges, or will it have to be the district attorney of Uvalde and the county? Hello, everybody in the chat. I'm going to bring you, as I said, a winded commentary pertaining to what happened allegedly, because I was not there, so I cannot say. But when you hear what I'm going to read to you, it will be very baffling information. And you will scratch your head at what I'm going to read to you next. So if you have time to clean your house or do whatever and type and listen if you're at work, keep doing what you're doing because that's how long the information is. I wasn't going to read it because I'm trying to preserve my voice. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you so much. But I want you all to understand, if you care to, his perspective. Because like I said, everything's up for interpretation. You're entitled to believe what you want to believe pertaining to what Mr. Arredondo has to say pertaining to what happened. I will now read you the winded commentary. Please bear with me. It is long. If you would like to have a discussion afterwards, I can drop the link. If not, I will just give my opinion and I will check out of here. Thank you for joining me. This is Everyday Shenanigans. TexasTribune.org is the source of this information. In this photograph, you will see Arredondo in a wooded area off the side of a road giving this commentary in this picture. There's a reason why. He has received death threats, and they said he has gone into hiding because of what has happened on May 24th. Waiting for keys, unable to break down doors, Uvalde School Police Chief defends delay in confronting gunmen. Criticized by law enforcement experts for slowness in taking out the shooter, Pete Arredondo described an agonizing wait for a key that would work. In an interview with the Texas Tribune, he said he hadn't spoken out sooner because he didn't want to compound his hometown's grief or point blame. Now know that he is the only law official that has given commentary to the news per what happened on May 24th. Only a locked classroom door stood between Pete Arredondo and a chance to bring down the gunman. It was sturdily built with a steel jamb, impossible to kick in. He wanted a key, one damn key, and he could get through that door to the kids' teachers. The killer was armed with an AR-15. Arredondo thought he could shoot the gunman himself or at least draw fire while another officer shot back. Without body armor, he assumed he might die. The only thing that was important to me at this time was to save as many teachers' children as possible, Arredondo said. The chief of police for the Uvalde School District spent more than an hour in the hallway of Robb Elementary School. He called for tactical gear, a sniper, and keys to get inside, holding back from the doors for 40 minutes to avoid provoking sprays of gunfire. When keys arrived, he tried dozens of them, but one by one, they failed to work. Each time I tried a key, I was just praying, Arredondo said. Finally, 77 minutes after the massacre began, officers were able to unlock the door and finally shoot the gunman. In his first extended comments since the May 24th massacre, the deadliest school shooting in Texas history, Arredondo gave the Texas Tribune an account of what he did inside the school during the attack. He answered questions via a phone interview with statements provided through his lawyer, George E. Hyde. Aside from the Texas Department of Public Safety, which did not respond to requests for comment for this article, Arredondo was the only other law enforcement official the public could tell his account of the police response to the shooting. Arredondo, 50, insists he took the steps he thought would best protect lives at his hometown school, one he had attended himself as a boy. My mind was to get there as fast as possible, eliminate any threats, and protect the students and staff, Arredondo said. He noted that some 500 students from the school were safely evacuated during the crisis. Arredondo's decisions, like those of other law enforcement agencies that responded to the massacre that left 21 dead, are under intense scrutiny as federal and state officials try to decide what went wrong and what might be learned. Whether the inability of police to quickly enter the classroom prevented 21 victims, 19 students, and 2 educators from getting life-saving care is not known and may never be. There's evidence, including the fact that a teacher died while being transported to the hospital, that suggests taking down the shooter faster might have made a difference. On the other hand, many of the victims likely died instantly. A pediatrician who attended to the victims described small bodies, pulverized and decapitated. Some children were identifiable only by their clothes and shoes. In the maelstrom of anguish, outrage, and second guessing that immediately followed the second deadliest school shooting in American history, the time Arredondo and other officers spent outside the door more than an hour have become emblems of failure. As head of the 6-member police force responsible for keeping Uvalde schools safe, Arredondo has been singled out for much of the blame, particularly by state officials. They criticized him for failing to take control of the police response and said he made the wrong decision that delayed officers from entering the classroom. Arredondo has faced death threats. News crews have camped outside his home, forcing him to go into hiding. He's been called cowardly and incompetent. Neither accusation is true or fair, he says. Not a single responding officer ever hesitated, even for a moment, to put themselves at risk to save the children, Arredondo said. We responded to the information that we had and had to adjust to whatever we faced. Our objective was to save as many lives as we could, and the extraction of the students from the classrooms by all that were involved saved over 500 of our Uvalde students and teachers before we gained access to the shooter and eliminated the threat, quote unquote. Arredondo's explanations don't fully address all the questions that have been raised. The Tribune spoke to 7 law enforcement experts about Arredondo's description of the police response. All but one said that the serious lapses in judgment occurred. All but one, you guys. Most strikingly, they said, by running into the school with no key, no radios, and failing to take charge of the situation, the chief appears to have contributed to a chaotic approach in which officers deployed inappropriate tactics, adopted a defensive posture, failed to coordinate their actions, and wasted precious time as students, teachers remained trapped in 2 classrooms with a gunman who continued to fire his rifle. Hyde, Arredondo's lawyer, said those criticisms don't reflect the realities police face when they're under fire and trying to save lives. Uvalde is a small working-class city of about 15,000 west of San Antonio. Its small band of school police officers doesn't have the staffing, equipment, training, or experience with mass violence that larger cities might. His client ran straight toward danger, armed with 29 years of law enforcement experience and a Glock 22 handgun. With no body armor and no second thoughts, the chief committed to stop the shooter or die trying. 77 minutes. One of Arredondo's most consequential decisions was immediate. Within seconds of arriving at the northeast entrance of Robb Elementary School, around 11:35 a.m., he left his police and campus radios outside the school. To Arredondo, the choice was logical. An armed killer was loose on the campus of the elementary school. Every second mattered. He wanted both hands free to hold his gun, ready to aim and fire quickly and accurately if he encountered the gunman. Arredondo provided the following account of how the incident unfolded in a phone interview, in written answers, and in explanations passed through his lawyer. He said he didn't speak out sooner because he didn't want to compound the community's grief or cast blame at others. Thinking he was the first officer to arrive and wanting to waste no time, Arredondo believed that carrying the radios would slow him down. One had a whip-like antenna that would hit him as he ran. The other had a clip that Arredondo knew would cause it to fall off his tactical belt during a long run. Arredondo said he knew from experience that the radios did not work in some school buildings. But that decision also meant that for the rest of the ordeal, he was not in radio contact with the scores of other officers from at least 5 agencies that swarmed the scene. Almost immediately, Arredondo teamed up with a Uvalde police officer and began checking classrooms looking for the gunman. As they moved to the west side of the campus, a teacher pointed them to the wing the gunman had entered. As Arredondo and the Uvalde police officer ran toward it, they heard a great deal of rounds fired off inside. Arredondo believes that was the moment the gunman first entered adjoining classrooms, 111 and 112, and started firing on the children with an AR-15 rifle. How the shooter entered Robb Elementary School. And there is a diagram in this said article if you need verification for the information. The shooter entered the school through a back door on the northwest side of the building. Once inside, he shot at least 100 rounds inside classroom 111 and 112, which are connected. Arredondo and the Uvalde police entered the building's south side and saw another group of Uvalde police officers entering the north. Arredondo checked to see if the door on the right, room 111, would open. Another officer tried 112. Both doors were locked. Arredondo remembers the gunman fired a burst of shots from inside the classroom, grazing the police officers approaching from the north. Some of the bullets pierced the classroom door, and others went through the classroom wall and lodged in the wall adjacent to the hallway where there were other classrooms. The officers on the north end of the hallway retreated after being shot, but they weren't seriously injured and returned shortly after to try to contain the gunman. Because the gunman was already inside the locked classroom, some of the measures meant to protect teachers and students in mass shooting situations worked against police trying to gain entry. Arredondo described the classroom door as reinforced with a hefty steel jamb designed to keep an attacker on the outside from forcing their way in. But with the gunman inside the room, that took away officers' ability to immediately kick in the door and confront the shooter. Arredondo believes the situation had changed from that of an active shooter to a gunman who had barricaded himself in classroom with potential other victims. And you also will see pictures inside this article of them at church and gathering at the memorial site. Texas Department of Public Safety officials and news outlets have reported that the shooter fired his gun at least 2 more times as police waited in the hallway outside the classrooms for more than an hour. And DPS officials have said dispatchers were relaying information about 911 calls coming from children and teachers in the classrooms begging the police for help. Arredondo said he was not aware of the 911 calls because he did not have his radio and no one in the hallway relayed that information to him. Arredondo and the other officers in the hallway took great pains to remain quiet. Arredondo said they had no radio communications, and even if they had radios, his lawyer said they would have turned them off in the hallway to avoid giving away their location. Instead, they passed information in whispers for fear of drawing another round of gunfire if the shooter heard them. Finding no way to enter the room, Arredondo called police dispatch from his cell phone and asked for a SWAT team, snipers, and extrication tools like a fire hook to open the door. Arredondo remained in the hallway for the rest of the ordeal, waiting for a way to get into the room and prepared to shoot the gunman if he tried to exit the classroom. The shooter and Arredondo entered the school on opposite sides. The gunman entered from the northwest side of the school and made his way south in the hallway before going into classrooms 111 and 112. Uvalde CISD Police Chief P. Arredondo and a Uvalde police officer entered from the south. Arredondo assumed that some other officer or official had taken control of the larger response. He took on the role of a frontline responder. He said he never considered himself the scene's incident commander and did not give any instruction that police should not attempt to breach the building. DPS officials have described Arredondo as the incident commander and said Arredondo made the call to stand down and treat the incident as a barricaded suspect, which halted the attempt to enter the room and take down the shooter. I didn't issue any orders, Arredondo said, quote unquote. I called for assistance and asked for an extraction tool to open the door, quote unquote. Officers in the hallway had few options. At some point, Arredondo tried to talk to the gunman through the walls in an effort to establish a rapport, but the gunman did not respond. With the gunman still firing sporadically, Arredondo realized the children and teachers in adjacent rooms remained in danger if the gunman started shooting through the walls. The ammunition was penetrating the walls at that point, Arredondo said. We've got him cornered. We're unable to get to him. You realize you need to evacuate those classrooms while we figured out a way to get in. Lights in the classrooms had also been turned off. Another routine lockdown measure that worked against the police. With little visibility into the classroom, they were unable to pinpoint the gunman's location or to determine whether the children and teachers were alive. Arredondo told officers to start breaking windows from outside other classrooms and evacuating those children and teachers. He wanted to avoid having students coming into the hallway where he feared too much noise would attract the gunman's attention. While other officers outside the school evacuated children, Arredondo and the officers in the hallway held their position and waited for the tools to open the classroom and confront the gunman. At one point, a Uvalde police officer noticed Arredondo was not wearing body armor. Worried for the chief's safety, the Uvalde police offered to cover for Arredondo while he ran out of the building to get it. I'll be very frank, he said. Fuck you. I'm not leaving this hallway, Hyde recounted. He wasn't going to leave without those kids. Without any way to get into the classroom, officers in the hallway waited desperately for a way to secure entry and did the best they could to otherwise advance their goal of saving lives. It's not that someone said stand down, Hyde said. It was right now. We can't get in until we get the tools. So we're going to do what we can to save lives. What we can do to save lives. And what was that? It was to evacuate the students and the parents and the teachers out of the rooms. Tools that might have been useful in breaking through the door never materialized. But Arredondo had also asked for keys that could open the door. Unlike some other school district police departments, Uvalde CISD officers don't carry master keys to the schools they visit. Instead, they request them from an available staff member when they're needed. Robb Elementary did not have a modern system of locks and access control. You're talking about a key ring that's got to weigh 10 pounds, Hyde said. Eventually, a janitor provided 6 keys. Arredondo tried each on a door adjacent to the room where the gunman was, but it didn't open. Later, another key ring with between 20 and 30 keys was brought to Arredondo. I was praying one of them was going to open up the door each time I tried a key, Arredondo said in an interview. None did. Eventually, the officers on the north side of the hallway called Arredondo's cell phone and told him they had gotten a key that could open the door. The officers on the north side of the hallway formed a group of mixed law enforcement agencies, including U.S. Border Patrol, to enter the classroom and take down the shooter, Arredondo said. 10 days after the shooting, the New York Times reported that a group of U.S. Border Patrol agents ignored a directive spoken into their earpieces not to enter the room. The Times has since reported that Arredondo did not object when the team entered the room. Hyde said if a directive delaying entry was issued, it did not come from Arredondo, but the Times reported that someone was issuing orders at the scene. Hyde said he did not know who that person was. The Border Patrol declined to comment. At 12:50 p.m., as the officers entered the classroom, Arredondo held his position near the south classroom door to the hallway, in case the gunman tried to run out that door. At last, the shooter, Salvador Ramos, 18, was brought down. A harrowing standoff rapidly became an effort to find the wounded and count the dead. Once the officers cleared the room, Border Patrol agents trained to render emergency medical service assessed the wounded. Arredondo and other officers formed a line to help pass the injured children out of the hallway and to emergency medical care. Expert analysis. A police officer intentionally ditching his radio while answering a call I've never heard anything like that in my life, said Steve Imes, a police tactics expert and former assistant police chief of Springfield, Missouri. The discarded radio, the missing key, and the apparent lack of an incident commander are some of the questions raised by experts about the response of Arredondo and the various agencies involved. Officers are trained never to abandon their radios, their primary communication tool during an emergency, said Imes. That Arredondo did so the moment he arrived on the scene is inexplicable, he said. Imes added that it is inconceivable that Arredondo's officers did not have a plan to assess any room or building on campus at any moment, given that the school district makes up the entirety of the tiny force's jurisdiction. The experts, which included active shooting researchers and retired law enforcement personnel, homed in on the moment officers entered the school and found the doors to rooms 111 and 112 locked. 3 said this moment afforded Arredondo a chance to step back, regroup, and work with officers to devise a new strategy. I agree. It takes having someone who has the wherewithal to come up with a quick tactical plan and executing it. The former Seguin Police Chief Terry Nichols. It may not be the best plan, but a plan executed vigorously is better than the best unexecuted plan in the world, quote unquote. Nichols, who teaches classes on active shooter responses, said he understands the instinct for command staff to want to confront a gunman themselves. But he said commanders must not lose focus of their role in an emergency. We have to, as leaders, especially as a chief of police, step back and allow our men and women to go do what they do and use our training and experience where they're needed to command and control a chaotic situation, Nichols said. Active shooter protocols developed after the 1999 shooting at Columbine High School were a slow police response, delayed medical care that could have saved several victims, trained police to confront shooters immediately without waiting for backup and without regard for their personal safety. An active shooting training that Uvalde School District Police attended in March stressed these tactics, warning that responders likely would be required to place themselves in harm's way. The training that police officers have received for more than a decade mandates that when shots are fired in an active shooter situation, officers or an officer needs to continue through whatever obstacles they face to get to the shooter, period, said Catherine Sweet, a retired FBI agent who co-wrote the Bureau's foundational research on mass shootings. If that means they go through walls or go around the back through windows or through an adjoining classroom, they do that. Bruce Ure, a former Victoria police chief, said drawing conclusions about police conduct during the shooting is premature since the authorities have not completed their investigations. He said he believes Arredondo acted reasonably given the circumstances he faced. Ure disagreed that Arredondo should have retreated into a command role once other officers arrived, since most active shooter events last mere minutes. Interesting. He argued that no amount of ad hoc planning outside would have changed the outcome of the massacre once the shooter got inside the classrooms. He said attempting to breach windows or open classroom doors by force were unrealistic options that would have exposed police and children to potentially fatal gunfire with little chance of success. Officers' only choice, he said, was to wait to find a key, which he agreed should not have taken so long. Hyde said attempting to enter through windows would have guaranteed all the children in the rooms would be killed, along with several officers, he said. This reckless and ineffective action, when police could not see where the shooter was, would have made officers easy targets to be picked off at will. Ure, who as an attendee was wounded in the hand during a 2017 Las Vegas concert shooting that killed 60 people, acknowledged the post-Columbine wisdom that immediately confronting shooters is paramount. But he said the scene inside Robb Elementary presented a perfect storm of an active shooter barricaded with hostages. There's no manual for this type of scenario, he said. If people need to be held appropriately accountable, then so be it. But I think the lynch mob mentality right now isn't serving any purpose, and it's borderline reckless. Questions over command. The day after the shooting, Arredondo and other local officials stood behind Governor Greg Abbott and DPS Director Steve McCraw as they held their first major news conference to address the slaughter. Abbott lauded law enforcement agencies for their amazing courage and said the actions of police officers were the reason the shooting was not worse. McCraw said a school resource officer had engaged the shooter outside the building, but was unable to stop him from entering. To Arredondo, that information did not ring true. Arredondo turned a DPS official whom he declined to identify and asked why state officials had been given inaccurate information. In a stunning reversal at a news conference the next day, the DPS regional director for the area, Victor Escalon, retracted McCraw's initial claim that said the gunman was not confronted by anybody before entering the school. At a third news conference the following afternoon, Abbott said he was livid about being misled about the police response to the shooting. He said his incorrect remarks were merely a recitation of what officers had told him. Hyde said the inaccurate information did not come from Arredondo, who had briefed state and law enforcement officials about the shooting before the first press conference. Abbott on Wednesday declined to identify who had misled him, saying only that the bad information had come from public officials, quote unquote. McCraw also told reporters that Arredondo, whom he identified by his position rather than his name, treated the gunman as a barricaded suspect rather than an active shooter, which McCraw deemed a mistake. In the news conference, McCraw referred to Arredondo as the shooting's incident commander, quote unquote. Hyde said Arredondo did not issue any orders to other law enforcement agencies and had no knowledge that they considered him the incident commander. The National Incident Management System, which guides all levels of government on how to respond to mass emergency events, says that the person on scene is the incident commander. That incident commander remains in that charge until they relinquish it or are incapacitated. Hyde acknowledged those guidelines, but said Arredondo's initial response to the shooting was not that of an incident commander, but of a first responder. Once he became engaged, intimately involved on the front line of this case, he is one of those that is in the best position to continue to resolve the incident at that time, Hyde said. So while it's easy to identify him as the incident commander because of that NIMS process, in practicality, you see here he was not in the capacity to be able to run this entire organization, quote unquote. With no radio and no way to receive up-to-date information about what was happening outside of the hallway, Hyde said another one of the local, state, and federal agencies that arrived at the scene should have taken over command. Nichols, the former Seguin police chief, dismissed the idea that another officer would seamlessly adopt the incident commander role simply because Arredondo never did. He said decisive commanders are especially important when multiple agencies respond to an incident and are unsure how to work together. You know the facility. You're the most intimately knowledgeable about this, Nichols said of Arredondo. Take command and set what your priorities need to be right now. On May 31st, officials with DPS, which is investigating the Uvalde shooting, told news outlets that Arredondo was no longer cooperating with the agency. The agency's investigative unit, Texas Rangers, wanted to continue talking with the police chief, but he had not responded to the agency's request for 2 days, DPS officials had said. Hyde said Arredondo participated in multiple interviews with DPS in the days following the shooting, including a law enforcement debriefing the day of the attack and a videotape debriefing with DPS analysts and the FBI the day after. He also briefed the governor and other state officials and had multiple follow-up calls with DPS for its investigation. But after McCraw said at a press conference on May 27th that Arredondo made the wrong decision, the police chief no longer participated in the investigation to avoid media interference, Hyde said. The Rangers had asked Arredondo to come in for another interview, but he told investigators he could not do it on the day they asked because he was covering shifts for his officers, Hyde said. At no time did he communicate his unwillingness to cooperate with the investigation, Hyde said. His phone was flooded with calls and messages from numbers he didn't recognize, and it's possible he missed calls from DPS but still maintained daily interaction by phone with DPS assisting with logistics as requested. Hyde said Arredondo is open to cooperating with the Rangers investigation, but would like to see a transcript of his previous comments. Interesting. That's a fair thing to ask before he has to then discuss it again, because as time goes by, all the information that he hears, it's hard to keep straight, Hyde said. They love those kids. When the gunman was dead, police had another grim task: moving the tiny bodies of injured children out of the room and getting them emergency medical care as soon as possible. A line was formed to gently but quickly move them out. Each child passed through Arredondo's arms. Later that night, Arredondo went to Uvalde Civic Center, where families waited desperately for news that their loved ones had survived or had at worst been taken to the hospital for treatment. For Arredondo, his lawyer said, telling families no additional kids were coming out of the school alive was the toughest part of his career. The chaotic law enforcement response to the shooting by local, state, and federal agencies is under investigation by the U.S. Department of Justice and the Texas Department of Public Safety. It is the subject of an investigative committee of the Texas legislature and will be the source of months of scrutiny by public officials, survivors, and the families of the deceased. Survivors and the families of the victims have started contacting lawyers for potential legal action. Arredondo's role will be central to all of those probes. For now, he is avoiding the public eye, having left his home temporarily because it's under constant watch by news reporters. But he's also been unable to mourn with his community. Arredondo grew up in the community and attended Robb Elementary as a boy. He started his career at the Uvalde Police Department and spent 16 years there before moving to Laredo for work. He returned to his hometown in 2020 to head up the school district's police department. He and his police officers love high-fiving the school children on his visits to the school, Hyde said. It was the highlight of his days, Hyde said. They loved those kids. Arredondo's ties to the shooting are also familiar. One of the teachers killed by the gunman, Irma Garcia, was married to Arredondo's second cousin, Joe Garcia. Garcia died suddenly 2 days after his wife's death. Arredondo grew up with Joe Garcia and went to school with him. But when the funeral services started, Arredondo said he opted against attending because he didn't want his presence to distract from the Garcia's grieving loved ones. His small police department is also suffering. Eva Morales, another teacher killed by the gunman, was married to Uvalde Consolidated Independent School District police officer Ruben Ruiz. They lost a person that they consider family, Hyde said. To relieve his grieving officers, Arredondo has picked up extra shifts at the police department, and he's received death threats and negative messages from people he does not know. Those are people who just don't know the whole story, that are making their assumptions on what they're hearing or reading. That's been difficult, he said. The police in Uvalde were like your family. We're like your family, your brothers and sisters. We help each other out at any cost, and we're used to helping out the community, period, because that's what most public servants are about. Arredondo said he remains proud of his response and that of his other officers that day. He believes they saved lives. He also believes that fate brought him back home for a reason. No one in my profession wants to ever be in anything like this, Arredondo said. But being raised here in Uvalde, I was proud to be here when this happened. I feel like I came back home for a reason, and this might possibly be one of the main reasons why I came back home. We're going to keep on protecting our community at whatever cost. This commentary I brought to you is by the Texas Tribune. Thank you for joining me. Woo, that was winded. Now for my commentary. Oh, Lordy. It was a steel door with a steel jamb, J-A-M-B, if you need verification for what that is. No keys available to enter the classrooms. He said his only concern was for the teachers and the children. No, Mr. Arredondo, I believe your only concern at that moment was for yourself, because you realized you did not have tactical gear and your other officers did not have tactical gear. You said you called for a sniper, gear, keys, and you used your cell phone. And the reason why you sat in the hallway for 40 minutes, because you was afraid of the gunman shooting through walls, spraying the hallway, which would have went into the other walls, which it did. That's how 2 of your officers got wounded. But as you see, that wasn't good enough to some people, especially those who lost their children and their wives, to teachers. Why didn't you take those radios in? I understand your explanation. One was heavy, one was fanning against your hip or leg. But as the experts have said in this commentary, it is illogical to go into a scene where there is a shooter or more, because you don't know what's going on because you haven't found out anything. Why in the hell would you not take a radio? People were calling from inside of the room. Children using cell phones. And yet you say you use a cell phone to call to get backup, tactical gear, You mean to tell me that when you called the dispatch, she, he, or they never told you, hey, there's still people alive in the room. So somebody gave somebody information that it was only a barricaded shooter and everybody's dead. Somebody who was that somebody, who's going to ever reveal who the somebody is, who's ever going to admit that they're the somebody. Because you're saying you didn't know that anybody was alive in the room, basically, that he was just barricaded. Then you're saying you never told anybody to stand down. You weren't the incident commander. But officials say that whoever shows up first is that person. And as someone said, you're the one that knows the school. You're from there. You work there. So you know the school. You know what's going on versus outsiders coming in from Border Patrol and other agencies. They don't know the damn school. They ain't been in the school. They don't work in the school. They don't work in the district. They don't know nothing. They're just showing up to aid. So who was in charge? You're basically saying, well, I'm the first responder. I'm the first one to jump up on the scene. But hey, I'm done. He done shot two of my men. I'm out of here. I'm going to lay back in the cut and wait on the keys. That's basically what you're telling America. Thank you, Tina. 77 minutes from the time this boy enters the school, goes in the room, shoots people, shoot through the walls, the doors, and when the cavalry gets the key to go inside the door and unlock the door to the casualties. You've answered questions through your lawyer through a cell phone. How undignified is that? You couldn't have met with somebody at the paper, or they came to your home, or you all met in another place, quiet place, to do an interview? Public safety has not responded to commentary for this article. Why not? Everybody's laying quiet, it seems, because they know there have been so many discrepancies pertaining to this storyline. And Arredondo is the only law official to give commentary to a public newspaper entity of what happened. But we know that with McGraw talking, somebody's told him something, but he won't identify the person that gave him the information about what allegedly happened. Will that ever be revealed? You go on to say, Mr. Arredondo, that 500 children and teachers were evacuated. See, here is where you are pumping yourself up to say, well, hell, I saved 500 extra people. Although 21 are gone and dead, I did help save 500 more, myself and officers. Well, to the parents and spouses, that ain't good enough. And it's not for them to be considered selfish, but they're in mourning right now. So they ain't thinking about the other children and teachers. No disrespect. But they've lost a child, lost a wife, lost a sister, lost a mother. 4 children without a mom and a dad now because the teacher died and then her husband died days later from a heart attack. Who's going to explain that to those kids? Where your mom and daddy, where they are, they're not coming back. So yes, we are grateful for the 500 that got out of the school. But you see, the 500 weren't in danger at that time because one of the teachers had told you, hey, go over there. The shooter is over there, around there. So they weren't in harm's way. And depending on how the school is built, we already know that even if he shot through the walls, those bullets weren't going to go through every classroom in the school. Come on now. You broke out windows to get the children out of the other classrooms while a dozen were alive in the room with the shooter. And the shooter only started reshooting because he heard them talking. You've now admitted that you negotiated with the shooter. I've asked this 1,000 times. Did anyone ever converse with the shooter? You now have admitted yes, but he would not respond. The shooter did not like noise, obviously, because he was in control of the situation. So when the children were mumbling in that damn room, that's why he shot one of the little girls again. He didn't want them talking. And when you tried to talk to the teacher, allegedly, she started talking. He shot her dead. She'd be alive today had she not answered you. So that means there are people alive in the room. So when you say, I say 500, you say 500 that weren't in harm's way, breaking out the windows. So now let's go there. You broke out windows of other classrooms, but did you ever get keys to those doors? Because I didn't hear you say anything about that in this article. Did you open the door with other keys to the other classrooms, sir, to free the other 500 people? Or all the children and teachers climbed out of windows to safety? Why was there no other staff members with keys, such as the principal? Why didn't the principal have a spare keys to the school? How are you a principal and you don't have keys? Why do you have thousands of keys on a damn key ring that don't got the damn classroom numbers on them? That makes no sense. It's just like at your house. All the keys won't look similar. Your door key won't look like your car key, duh. So you don't got to put a sticker on the damn key because you already know your door key don't look like your damn car key. So at the school, there should be numbers on the keys of the classroom. Who the hell got time to sit here and go through thousands of keys? This is ridiculous. And at first I wasn't judgmental of what happened because it was too many stories floating the first 2 to 3 days. So I waited for the information to get out. But when the timeline started changing from 60 minutes to 116 minutes and then 117, 118, I said, oh boy, here we go. We got a problem. This is not good. A teacher died en route to the hospital. So that lets you know, had the door been breached, perhaps other children could have lived. Teachers could have lived. You keep pumping up this 500 number. 500 live. 500. Well, 21 are dead. How about that? And yes, I understand. That's a small number out of 500 plus staff members, teachers, children. But the dead is dead. They can't come back. They can't talk. They can't tell us nothing. And you feel like what you have done was proper. You're backing yourself and the staff, what they did. But you messed up by running in that schoolhouse without a damn radio. And you know you're supposed to have a radio. And where you messed up is when you admit that you called the dispatch to get tactical wear, keys, and backup. So you want me to believe whoever you talked to at dispatch didn't say, hey, you've got a lot of calls coming in. There's children calling from inside the rooms. They're alive in there. They're scared in there. They want out of there. You mean to tell me nobody told you that? You didn't even ask the dispatch, hey, have you gotten calls in? I don't got my radio. Are there any survivors in the room? You didn't think to ask that? When you was talking to the killer, did you say, hey, do you have any survivors in there? He didn't answer. But we later hear that you talked to a teacher and was asking her how she was doing, and that's when the shooter shot her, right before you all breached the door. I wonder if that's truth or not, because there's some discrepancies between that version and the version that one of the little girls gave. Lord have mercy. I don't know. Many died instantly, the children. The pediatrician on scene said that the small bodies were pulverized, decapitated. Some were ID'd by their clothes and shoes. That is the worst information coming out of Uvalde pertaining to the 24th, May 24th. Naturally, being shot with an AR-15, you have a little bitty body. You can do the math. Would not be a nice scene. And you wonder how many could have lived, even if it means having a limb missing. We will not know now because they would have bled out. They bled out. But nonetheless, the pediatrician is saying it was a bad scene with the children. You said you have a 6-member team. You're facing death threats. News camped outside your house, so you've had to go into hiding. State officials say you are incompetent and cowardly, your behavior, and that you made the wrong decision. You've been forced to go into hiding. Have you been forced to go into hiding? Because a lot of people like to say, don't make excuses for what we do. So have you been forced to go into hiding? You know they were going to find out where you live, sir. That's just the way it goes. You've got to come home at some point. You perhaps pay a mortgage unless your house is paid for. They're not going to leave from out there. They're going to camp out there. You're now a city councilman. So if you all are still having city council meetings, are you not going to show up for those because you are in hiding? Just asking. You said neither of these allegations of you being cowardly and incompetent are true or fair. Well, you know, that is someone's opinion. You said no one hesitated to do their job May 24th. But see, the irony of that is that a shooter was in a room with kids and teachers. And the other 500 that you're bragging about, they weren't in harm's way. But you did hesitate because you were waiting for armor. You were waiting for armor. You used your cell phone to call the dispatch to say, I need a sniper. I need the keys to the door. I need tactical gear. And you waited and you waited and you waited for all those things. And when you finally got the key, you were at the top of the hour before you could breach the door open with, by then, Border Patrol and other agencies on the scene. And I'm assuming they had on tactical gear because they didn't have a problem going in and taking down the shooter. You've made excuses about the windows, that no one could see in the windows because the lights were off. Well, don't they have cameras and things on heavy artillery to look into a room? Such as when they go on top of a building and they aim toward a window several hundred yards or feet away. They can look through a camera light and get a visual of the suspect. Or am I just making that up? I don't know what I'm talking about. You're not making any sense. Why couldn't somebody look through the window to get a visual of the suspect? You're sitting here saying that the room was dark. It's daylight savings time. If indeed the blinds are open and he didn't close the blinds to the school, or if they had shades as curtains, then a person could see through the window to see where the perpetrator is standing. He's standing in all black, from my understanding. So how hard would it be to visualize him in a room through a lens on a sharp shooting rifle? You want me to believe there's no artillery out there that can detect a person in black in a classroom with the lights off? Okay. Wow. Who gave you the keys, sir, to the room? You all hunted down keys for almost an hour and a half. Was the janitor at the school? Did you receive the keys from a janitor, female or male? I'm just curious. And I'm still curious to why the principal had no spare keys to the room. This makes no sense. How long was it before you all found the janitor with the keys? Where was the janitor? Was the janitor on shift? What the hell was the janitor doing while you're there looking for him or her? Why are the keys not in any orderly fashion to each room in the school? This is ridiculous. This key shuffle. Oh, we got to go through all these keys. Oh my God, he brought me 6 keys and I tried each one and none would work. Do you know how ridiculous? It sounds like a scary movie where somebody gets the keys on this big old key ring and they're sitting here fumbling with all these keys trying to get out a damn door or open a door to get to safety. But sadly, this was not a scary movie. It was real life. 21 died because of a bunch of key rings on a key, allegedly. Police officers showing up without tactical gear. Officers saying, I'm not the incident responder, but I'm the first responder. Somebody don't want to own who was in control of the situation. Border Patrol is saying one thing, you saying another. It's jacked up. I'm telling you, this key shuffle is ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. What's going to become of this? In this commentary at the beginning of this live, I played you audio that the victim's parents have filed a lawsuit, $100 million. Obviously, they will be suing the city of Uvalde. Small town, where that money is going to come from, their insurance, I guess. Will they win? Civil suit. Will there be criminal charges brought against this chief and his staff members? Team member. 6-man team members. This is bad. This is utterly, utterly bad. Do you all feel that the ball was dropped in Uvalde? Do you feel like they did the best they could with what they had? Do you feel like an hour was not a long enough time? That it was okay to get everybody else out of the building and wait till they could breach the door, which was a steel door, steel enforced door. They couldn't get in. So that's a good enough excuse for why they couldn't save the dozen more who possibly could have lived, whether they were missing an arm, a leg, or whatever. As I told you in this commentary, a teacher died en route to the hospital. So that means she was bleeding that whole time from her initial wound. And is this one of the teachers that was shot at first or the teacher that got shot last? Which is it? Some will probably say it doesn't matter. Do you believe protocol was followed? Do you believe somebody acted cowardly and was afraid because they didn't have gear and they didn't want to die in a shooting? And that they had to have known that the shooter had, as I say, mass weapons of destruction, obviously. Because not too many people came out of the room. If you'd like to give your opinion, hit the link on 1 hour in. Thank you for joining me. This is Everyday Shenanigans. Was the ball dropped in Uvalde? Will there be a criminal investigation? Will the DA bring forth charges against the chief Arredondo and his staff members? Because in the end, the outsiders that came in, they had to be taking orders from somebody. We cannot just say, expect us to accept that nobody was in charge. That makes no logical sense. Somebody had to be in charge. Somebody had to be telling somebody something. Somebody had to be asking something. Hey, when are we going to get in? Hey, where's the key? He said they were whispering in the hallways, asked not to alert the shooter. Okay, so everybody's whispering with no radios, just cell phones. Nobody's curious what the fuck was going on inside the room with the children and the shooter and the teachers. Nobody cared to see, hey, let's see if somebody's alive in there, bleeding to death, need to come out of there. No, it wasn't good enough. Yes, it's easy to judge. Of course we can judge. We're humans. That's what humans do. But you can't explain an hour and 17 minutes logically. How are you going to assume there's nobody alive in there? Because you don't hear gunfire. So, oh, he ain't shooting no more. Well, they must be all dead. I refuse to believe you could not look through a window of the classroom and have a sharpshooter. You have contradicted yourself by saying the room was dark and nobody could see in the room. Well, then why the fuck would you ask for a sniper? Now you want to hear, want a transcript of your words days before. Why do you need a transcript before answering any more questions? Because you don't remember what you said, sir? No, because you've already contradicted yourself in this Texas Tribune article. And Queen gonna let you know that you messed up. You messed up when you said, I called on my cell phone to the dispatch for tactical gear, keys, and a sniper. You would have no need to ask for a sniper through a door you can't damn see. Bingo card. You would only need a sniper once the door's open. And naturally, he'd be the first to go in to shoot. And everybody's behind him or her. But where you messed up is when you talk about the 500 who have survived and you all got them out of their rooms safely, breaking out windows to secure the children and the teachers out of those rooms. So you want me to believe that in this classroom, 111, 112, they had no windows. And then you say that you didn't want to kill other children by shooting out the glass in the rooms. I understand that because I get it. You don't know where the children are in the room. But that's the purpose of looking through the glass. The shooter only had 2 eyes. He didn't have 12 eyes. So he can't see on the side of his head, behind his head. So depending on where he's in the room, it would have made sense for somebody to go to a window to try to see where the shooter was, where the children and staff were, and then collectively make a decision to take the shooter out. You want me to believe that the children were what? Standing up for 1 hour and 17 minutes? They were lined up like little army men and women? You want me to believe the children were not lying down on the ground? He went in and shot the kids. So I would assume the children were laying on top of each other. We've heard one of the children say they were pulling bodies off of the teacher to get one of the children up from underneath the teacher because she was shielding the children. So now you want me to believe that what? The children were all sitting up, dead and alive. Stop this nonsense. That's the chance you take in trying to take down a shooter. The man is in the room. It doesn't matter what's going on in the room. The threat was that he was in the room with human beings. You can't see in the room to see what the hell's going on. You don't have a radio to know that the children are calling and telling you they're alive. So you should have had somebody shoot him through the window since you couldn't open the door with the key. That sounds more logical to me. But your excuse is, well, we didn't want to break out the windows, I guess, to alert him. So you didn't want to talk loud in the hallway because you didn't want him shooting through the walls of the doors. You didn't want the children coming out the doors because you didn't want him coming out in the hallway to hear the children coming out of the other classrooms. So all the concern seems to me was of the other children, the other 500 in the other rooms. No concern for the children and the teachers in 111 and 112. Don't talk, whisper. Don't open the other doors. We don't want them to come in the hallway to know that the children are coming out. Why couldn't that same discretion been used for the children and teachers in 111 and 112? Why couldn't you have gotten somebody to ease up to the windows of those two classrooms and look inside to see where he was? Breaching was going to have to occur one way or the other, and naturally he would retaliate. That's why he's there. You just heard no movement for an hour, or some point after an hour, you just came to the conclusion, well, they're all dead. Just him in there. We only have to worry about taking down the shooter. That's it. Lord have mercy. If you have any commentary you'd like to bring to this network pertaining to the $100 million lawsuit by the victim's parents, tearing down the school. One of the parents wants the school turned down, one of the victim's parents. And your Aaron Dondo's response that he's backing the response of May 24th. Hit the link. Thank you for joining me. 80 viewing. Amen. Lord have mercy. I'm over this. Hope you all are having a safe week. Have a wonderful weekend. Please be safe. If you see something, say something. Be a part of the solution, not the problem. Praying no more casualties in this country. We have enough problems already. Violent offenders, people that are not well. Just leave the children alone. At least if he's shooting at the cops, then he's not shooting at the kids. Just such cowardness. Did they try each key in the shooter waiting? Obviously. Thank you, Cherie. Thank you all so much for joining me. If you have any commentary, please hit the link. Give your opinions to the said information in this commentary. Do you believe they followed protocol? They did everything they should have done. He's not, he's saying he wasn't the incident commander, that he was the first responder. You all should not be putting him in that position. He was just there in the beginning. And he laid back and let the others come in and handle the rest. So then if that's the case, if you're the first responder, you asked for a key and couldn't get a key, hell, why care? Just walk out, go back to doing whatever you were doing before you got there. It's the same. Since you weren't in charge. Should have just went to lunch. When the Border Patrol showed up, the other people showed up, the other agents, you should have just walked out since you weren't in control of the situation. You weren't the commander in charge. Will there be a criminal investigation to this massacre? Will the parents win a lawsuit? Someone on my post said, they're suing already. They haven't even started an investigation. Well, what you have to remember is this is not a criminal investigation. No one's been brought up on charges. the state Justice Department, the state is investigating the DPS agency. The Congressional Committee are investigating, and the U.S. Department of Justice is investigating. But this is not a criminal investigation. That's it. We haven't heard any more from his mother. I haven't heard any more update pertaining to the grandmother. Naturally, they would be mum about that as to, safeguard her safety, the grandmother. But this is a very sad situation of a child tainted, mind tainted, sick mind of an 18-year-old. Instead of taking his money to buy young people things, video games, go out and have fun, meet new people, he's up here plotting the deaths of whomever. And some of you are probably wondering, why did he choose the school? I don't know. Maybe he saw what he wasn't. A young person with a chance. But as I've told you, you don't know people. You don't know what is going on with people. Children, whomever. He didn't know the lives of those children. He didn't know what was going on with those kids. And it wasn't his place to know. It wasn't his place to snuff them out. Yes, he is now on city council. City council member, Mr. Arredondo. How does his wife feel if he's married, has children? Going and hiding means you have to take the other participants with you. You wouldn't leave your wife at home, your children at home if you have school-aged children. So are they with him wherever he is? Bad parenting? I do not know. I know that it was said on Inside Edition that there was heavy drug use in the family, but they did not specify whom was using the drugs. And I only know that he was with his grandparents a few months. They do not specify how many months he was with the grandparents living. But what I like to know is who was using drugs, how long they were using drugs, what his life was like at home with his mother. Was that the only place that he's lived besides the grandparents' house? Did he ever get shuffled somewhere else? Has he had any mental evaluations, treated for any mental disorders? And how did it come to this? Why didn't somebody speak up that something was wrong with the young man, that his mannerisms was questionable, being quiet, ducked off, aloof? Something was wrong with him. Somebody saw it. There's no way you can say you didn't see it because the children came forward saying his behavior in school, how he was teased, picked on, and then he eventually became the bully. I don't know, Edward. I do not know. I don't think they went into details about the grandfather's past. I hadn't heard. It's just devastating. Absolutely devastating. Where will the children go in the fall to go to school? Will some of the parents homeschool or find homeschooling for their children or alternative school districts? How far is the nearest elementary school from that Robb elementary school? Because most of the times you can't go to other schools outside of your town if you don't live in that town. It's very sick information. I'm sure in time we will find out if there was bad parenting. Yes, it's very screwed up. Hit the link if you'd like to give your opinion pertaining to this massacre. Arredondo backing the response, the late response to the shooting, plural. The parents filing a $100 million lawsuit, and one of the parents wanting the school to be demolished. That's the said commentary. Thank you for joining me. That is it. It's a very sad situation. We're in desolate times now. The world is gone mad, extremely mad. People do not know how to cope, and they do not know how to handle their problems. And it's depressing. They don't know how to handle their problems. What will become of this world, I do not know. But people cannot just go out here and start killing up people, shooting up people. You just can't kill people because things aren't going your way. You're mad or angry or vengeful or whatever. You just can't kill people. Possibly we are. But then the scripture also says this too shall pass. So how many times is it going to keep passing? This war that people are raging with one another. It's very sickening. That it is. I'd be surprised if we have 25 years left. Lord, Edward, you got to be positive, Edward. The children got to be able to grow up and live. But God knows the plans. So only God knows. Would you like to hit the link, Edward? The link is in the chat. If you'd like to give your opinion, you don't have to continue to type. Feel free to hit the link, give your opinion. $67 viewing. Thank you all so much for your support. Hope you all have a wonderful weekend. It's nice and sunny here in the high 10. We've had rain on and off this week here, but today is looking quite nice. All right, Diane, have a nice weekend. Oh, Prairie Justice says the mother had the nerve to say her son had reasons for killing those children. I had not heard that. I know I heard she said he was not a monster. That's the last commentary. That was about over a week ago. I did not hear anything else that she had said about her son. Well, I haven't heard any more about the girlfriend either. If she's being investigated, because I haven't found any commentary about the girlfriend. Only News Nation brought commentary that the girlfriend said she would finish off what he started, but I hadn't heard any more about her or anything else the mother has had to say. And I'd also like to hear from the grandmother if she's able to talk. Why she feels, why her grandson did this to her and these children and teachers. Because I find it interesting that he did not shoot the grandfather. Why not? Why did he attempt to kill the grandmother? Very interesting information. Hello, Betsy. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Welcome, dear. Welcome. What do you have to say about the lawsuit, Arredondo backing the response, and one parent wanting the school to be shut down?
I think the lawsuits, I'm a lawyer in New Mexico.
Okay.
I think that the lawsuit.
Can you tell us what type of law you practice, ma'am?
Criminal and also immigration deportation defense.
And how long have you been an attorney, ma'am?
20 years.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I think the lawsuit is absolutely justified. Obviously, I mean, this is just beyond not excusable, you know?
Okay.
I don't know how to get there we go. It's beyond non-excusable, and the response, he should not make any response really, because there's nothing he can say.
Okay.
There is nothing he can say. There is nothing defensible. And thank God for the Border Patrol agent who was brave, because, you know, being courageous doesn't mean you're not scared.
It's true. Very true. I'm glad you said it. That's true.
Yeah. And I look at that and I see how cowardly, you know, like, the threat was inside that room. The threat was not with those other 500 people that he was breaking.
Yes.
You know, and his job is to stop the threat.
Yes, exactly.
And he failed.
So you agree that he failed. You agree that it took too long.
Yes, ma'am.
You now see that they're shifting blame on who was in charge. He's basically saying he wasn't in charge. He's basically saying in this article I brought to you that I was a first responder, not a commander. How do you feel about those statements?
Well, what is his duty then? What is his job then? He just responds and waits on everybody else. Is that what you are as a first responder?
Right.
It's not like an ambulance where sometimes an ambulance will
yes.
sit back waiting for police to clear a scene, etc., before they can safely come on. That wasn't his job. His job was to stop the threat. He was the first line of defense in stopping the threat, and he failed miserably. His department failed miserably, and I can't imagine, knowing that there are little children being killed, that you would think more of your own physical safety than the safety of those children. But I believe that's what they did.
I think when he says in the beginning of this article I read that I thought of the children and the teachers first, I said to myself, no, you thought of yourself dying without body armor and not having backup. You have a 6-member team. I don't even understand the setup of the police department, because this is where I'm confused. Who is actually the police chief of the police of the city itself? Because they say he's the chief of the school district. Well, then where is the police chief of the city? Maybe I'm lost.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, where is it sounds like everybody just wants to pass the buck.
Yeah, because that's something we're not seeing. Where is the city police? Because the calls went into a dispatch, which means that would be the main police department. Right? The dispatch is funneling calls to the police department. So if he's not getting them because he didn't have the radio, then where were they supposed to be going? See, that's where I'm confused.
Exactly. I think that it was just a cluster mess, basically, and that they just didn't. And two, this whole thing about negotiation. Since when do you negotiate with a school shooter?
Yeah, he said I asked him questions. He didn't respond. He doesn't have to respond.
And it got that other teacher killed.
Yeah, trying to talk to him, trying to talk to her allegedly. But then there's commentary I brought the other day where a little girl was speaking, and there's some things that's contradictory versus what he said and what the little girl was saying. He shot one room, then she went into another room to see if people were alive. And in that commentary, the little girl said she heard him go outside in the hallway. That's what made her get up to go look at a whole nother room. Well, I don't hear anything about him going in the hallway.
Right.
So when did the shooter go in the hallway?
Yeah, I think we've got some parts of the story that are missing. And it seems like that they want to benefit, they want things viewed in the light to benefit them.
Yes.
And make excuses for what they did.
Yes.
But you got 19 dead kids and 2 dead adults. What the hell?
Ask yourself, if he came back in, and I think she said he shot again, that's when he probably shot that teacher. That's very baffling. So what? He opened the door and shot out the door, or he shot through the door? But it seemed like a child would know if he went in the hallway because she's there. I said I trust the children's version versus the police.
Yes, I believe the child at this point, because the child's not being sued for $100 million.
Yeah.
First of all. Secondly, the child is just given his or her recollection.
Yes. Do you believe that there would be criminal charges against Aaron Dondo and his staff?
That's hard to say.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to say, and then you get caught up with the whole political agenda of, gun control. Would they not take any action against him because of that? I mean, I don't know. Like, as far as that they have this political agenda that they're not concerned with charging the police officers.
Yeah. So that's why I'm going to ask you, since you're an attorney, what are the ramifications actually, or protocol that it could even be the DA bring forth charges against the police for their response, or lack of, rather?
I'm not sure, because I don't practice in Texas.
Oh, okay.
But the fact that the Department of Justice is looking into it tells me they don't look into things for civil purposes. They look into things for criminal purposes.
Because that's one point they keep making with this Justice Department, that know that this is not criminal. This is just them investigating.
Yes.
So I'm wondering, can the Justice Department bring forth charges? Do you know about that, ma'am?
I'm not sure, but I would think that they wouldn't be investigating if there wasn't the possibility of bringing forth charges.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but now, did you say the state of Texas was also investigating?
The state congressional committee has been meeting, also investigating as well. Plus the state safety DPS have also they're also investigating.
Well, DPS might be, but yeah, I think time is going to tell. It just, it's sad to say, but it depends how badly they want to make an example out of them.
True. You know? True. Yeah, I think the people are disgusted there, and when you count the timeline, which fluctuated in the past week from, 77 minutes, 76 minutes, 78 minutes. That's just making a mockery of it. Because it's like, okay, well, what is the timeline? First, you started off day one with an hour. He was in there an hour. Then it went. When you started adding on 15 minutes, 16 minutes, you're just making it worse.
Yeah.
Because a dozen people made it out of there, but maybe somebody else could have lived, but we won't know. And as the pediatrician said, children were badly wounded.
Right.
You're talking about basically severed the children. You still want to have hope that somebody was alive, and there were children who lived. There were children who lived.
Yes. Which, thank God,
Thank God, yes.
But it does leave me speechless, because there's his position and the city's position, in my opinion, is totally indefensible.
I'm trying to understand, why would he be running for city council weeks ago? Why did he run for city council? I mean, it's his choice, but I've never known a police chief to be a council member. I've never heard of that. Have you?
No, I haven't. Here in Albuquerque, I don't think you could do that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, but maybe in these little towns in Texas, I don't know.
Conflict of interest would be mostly in a bigger city, because they would have enough money to have people designated for certain positions. In a small town, I think it's just like TV. The sheriff, police, he holds or she holds many hats, wears many hats.
Right.
But I don't think that's a good look, a police chief being on the city council, just me personally. I wouldn't even want that task.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine it.
You know what I'm saying? Because you have an official law enforcement role. Why would you want to mesh the two?
Right. Other than you just want
status, clout.
Status, power, power in a little town. Yeah.
Well, imagine what you have now.
Yeah, it's going to be a mess, and I don't think it's too soon for them to have filed a lawsuit.
Okay.
I mean, it's evident that there's
the conflicting stories, between what the governor's heard and said and repeated, and that's why that maybe they all should have got together before giving a public statement or letting the governor and senators talk. Everybody should have got in a meeting room and laid out what was said of what happened that day, and then the government officials give the play-by-play plus the law officials.
Well, and I'm surprised that he's making a statement if they were sued, because any attorney that represents the city is going to tell them to shut up.
Right. Yeah, they tried speaking to her. I brought commentary about that the other day. The district attorney, she was escorted out by a deputy, which I found interesting. I thought, well, now why are you walking out with a deputy to your car? What's going on here? So the news reporter for CNN was trying to get information from her. She would not speak. So now I said, this is really bad. You have a district attorney being escorted to her car, won't speak. The mayor is in hiding, not speaking. And Aaron Dondo's not speaking. Nobody is speaking that's in any official capacity for the city.
Right. No, when they get sued, they'll clam up. So
I see. So that's why possibly the district attorney was quiet last week.
Well, the district attorney, like they have immunity. District attorneys have immunity. Judges have really strong immunity.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just think she probably didn't want to answer any questions.
Fuel to the fire.
Yeah. So she had a deputy escort her so that nobody bother her.
And you did say you're not sure if you think that any criminal charges will be brought forth, because she would be the one that has to bring them forward.
Yes. Yeah.
Imagine that. That would be very interesting, would it not? Thank you, Annie.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's crazy. But I look at, we keep, how they say insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Yes. Many of us are guilty of that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, raise my hand here. That the fact that the gun-free zone of schools is soft targets all around. So these because the man who killed the children was a coward. He was mentally ill of some stripe, but he was cowardly because he knew there would be no one. He would have to face no one immediately that would stop him, and he could reach his goal of inflicting damage on people.
Yes,
just his anger burst forth, and unfortunately, it did in this way. But we keep having these tragedies and we still fail to secure our schools. Not even just armed personnel, but we could have different types of perimeters, build our schools in a particular way that would be safer for children. And it's like we leave that's what I put on your page. We leave the most precious things in our lives unguarded.
Exactly.
We need to stop doing that, and I'm not, I can't say what should be. I mean, I'm a proponent of Second Amendment just because that's how my brother was a deputy sheriff back in West Virginia, and that's how I was raised. We were all raised with guns, and guns were a tool, and you used them for a particular purpose. But like you were saying, we've got a sick society, and we've got lots of mentally ill people that are just walking around, and nobody's doing anything about it.
Right.
And I also look at, and I asked a friend of mine who used to be he was a police officer in New York City and San Francisco, and he's retired now. And I asked him, I said, isn't the last line of defense, okay, this kid, even though he's mentally ill, he doesn't have anything that would flag him on a gun background check, on a NICS check. So he buys these guns. Second thing, when you're selling somebody a gun, if they're not acting right, you have the right to not sell them that gun. And really, I think the last line of defense was the gun shop owner.
Yes.
I'm also interested to know where this young man got, if he wasn't working and how'd he get that amount of money?
At Wendy's. He was working at Wendy's, but he wasn't going to school. And I thought the grandmother and grandfather were not making him attend school. He had the notion to go work, then he should have also been going to school. He wouldn't have been in my house living without going to school.
Right. Well, yeah, and like you're saying, you don't know exactly what it is, but something's hinky with the family. Why was he living with the grandmother and not his parents?
Issue with the mother. Something was going on with the mother.
Yeah.
And some people got something about a boyfriend issues or whatever. I don't really have any information yet on that. Confirmation.
But yeah, so it's like, because those are not inexpensive weapons. And he was able to get them. Nobody noticed that something was wrong with this young man. But, and like I say, I think, with these shooters, they scrub all the information off the internet, like almost immediately. If they've got a page on Facebook or whatever, you don't get to see it if it goes very far. So, but I don't know. I just think this has been a horrible, horrible situation. I think we need to start fortifying our schools. And that's unfortunate because, you and I probably went to school. I think older than you, but we went to school in a time where we didn't have to think about that. We lived in a different world.
Okay.
You know, I believe children now are anxious and they see these things, and children are scared, and they need some kind of security. I don't know the answer. There's other people other than me that might have those answers, but how do we secure our children? Because you have to look, we've got over 400 million guns in this country, at least.
Yes.
And we've got over 1 trillion rounds of ammunition. How are you going to keep a gun from getting into somebody's hand? If I want to buy a gun on the street, I could go out in 10 minutes here in Albuquerque and have one.
Okay, let me ask you something. This is something I just found. I'm trying to pull up. I thought I had information on a teacher who spoke out that left the door propped open. I'm hearing now that there's a male teacher who lived that was shot. So I don't remember hearing that a teacher was shot and lived.
I didn't either. I didn't hear about a male teacher.
Yes,
either.
That's what I'm seeing now. And I was trying to pull up the information of the woman who left the door open, who wasn't one of the teachers. A lot of people are getting that confused between one of the teachers that propped the door open is one that died in the room. No, because the one that propped the door open has a lawyer now. So now I'm even more confused with this information pertaining to a teacher who has survived. This is getting real.
Well, it's like if that male teacher's out there that survived, have they made any statements?
But I hadn't heard that one survived. That's what I think is strange. Yes, let me see.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can try to pull this up.
If they made a statement from their recollection of exactly what happened and when it happened.
I'm gonna go into YouTube and pull it up. Hold on. This is even more strange because I hadn't heard of a teacher talking. Only teacher I heard was speaking or saying something was the one who propped the door open, not the one that got actually shot and lived. I don't know. What's TZ? I'm just now hearing about this. Hold on.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that either.
Okay, shot. Hold on one second. Let me see. Here we go. I'm gonna bring this up. This should be interesting because I thought I had on my community page the woman who propped the door open. She allegedly supposed to have spoken. That's what I was looking for. Hold on. Well, and now it's not playing. That's crazy. Well, okay. Hold on. What is going on?
Shot multiple times by the gunman, says he cannot
God, the volume won't come up.
taking more than an hour to stop the gunman.
That's the devil.
Every student in his classroom. Mr. Reyes, on how the day started.
It was going to be a good day because it was going to be our day of awards. And some kids in my class that haven't gotten an award, all year, we're going to get an award that day.
And while some students went home after the ceremony, 11 from his class stayed behind. They were watching a movie.
The kids started asking out loud, Mr. Reyes, what is going on? And I said, I don't know what's going on, but let's go ahead and get under the table. Get under the table and act like you're asleep. As they were doing that, and I was gathering them under the table and told them to act like they were going to sleep, it's about the time I turned around.
Hold on. Oh, Lordy. Sorry, miss.
Classroom 112 at 11:33 a.m. Then making his way into 111 through a connecting door.
Can you turn your background down, ma'am?
Hitting him in the arm and lung.
What?
Yeah, I think you got some background playing in the back.
Myself.
No.
Oh, because I hear something in the back.
And I prayed.
Let me turn the volume down. Hold on.
Did you thought you were going to die?
Yes, ma'am.
Then, while the gunman was still in the classroom, Reyes hearing police nearby. According to law enforcement, 7 officers were in the building by 11:35 a.m. They took gunfire and retreated. Reyes says a child in the connecting classroom, 112, called out for help.
One of the students from the next door classroom was saying, "Officer, we're in here. We're in here." And then a but they had already left. And then he got up from behind my desk, and he walked over there and he shot over there again.
At 12:03 p.m., a full 30 minutes after he entered the building, a child from room 112 calling 911, telling dispatch where she was. By this point, 19 officers were inside the building, but no one went in. At 12:10, 12:13, and 12:16, more 911 calls.
Is there anybody inside of the building? Is advising he is in the room full of victims.
You know that they're kids, right? They're little kids. They don't know how to defend themselves.
You said you were praying.
I prayed the Lord's Prayer. I prayed my Hail Mary.
But it isn't until 12:50 p.m., 1 hour and 17 minutes after the gunman entered the classrooms, that Border Patrol busts in, killing the shooter.
Did you feel abandoned by police, by the people who are supposed to protect you?
Absolutely. After everything, I get more angry because you have a bulletproof vest. I had nothing. I had nothing. You're supposed to protect and serve. There is no excuse for their actions. And I will never forgive them. I will never forgive them.
How many students were in your classroom when the shooter came in?
11 students.
So
how did he get in that class?
Every single student in your classroom.
Yes, ma'am. I lost 11 that day. And
something's wrong.
I went to my parents and said, I'm sorry. I tried my best. It was what I was told to do. Please don't be angry with me.
Just the idea that this teacher is now hoping the parents will be angry with him gives you an idea of the anguish this teacher will carry with him for the rest of his life. And Amy Robb with us tonight. Amy, you told me that the teacher also said no amount of training in the world, and they've been trained for something like this, but that no amount of training could have prepared them for this.
Yes, T.
So fast.
That's correct. And he was trained to get his students under the table. And as he looks back now, as he reflects, he feels as though he was actually setting up his students to be sitting ducks. It's a painful thought indeed. And all the training in the world doesn't prepare you for that moment. He said it's the laws that have to change. And he is going to spend the rest of his life making sure those students and his fellow teachers did not die in vain, David.
Amy Robb tonight. Amy, thank you. I know this was not an easy interview.
I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to play this back again. Something's off. Somebody's lying here. Hold on. I'm getting irritated now. The phone is not active. This is just, oh Lord, no wonder. The talk button things on this phone. Oh God. I'm not gonna be able to play it back. Sorry. Hold on. Oh Lordy. I hate this device I use. It messes up. You hit the wrong button and it starts talking and doing all this so crazy nonsense. I'll have to do another video about that. Now I can't even turn off.
I can hear it though. I don't know if everybody else
can. But my talk thing is on. So if I say anything, it's going to repeat back what I'm saying over the commentary. I'm going to have to go back in and redo it. Yeah, something's off with this information. Now we're talking about 3 teachers.
Yeah, they kind of didn't put that out there.
My assumption is that 111, 112 were adjoining rooms. And the 2 teachers died from 111 and 112. So now, what are you saying? That there's another room that adjoined 112 or 111 through another door? Because how would he have gotten over to another room if he never left 111 or 112? Now, I did hear that he shot through the walls, as the Arredondo said. His officers got shot because he shot through the door and it went through adjoining rooms. So is that how possible he got shot? Is when it shot through the walls and the teacher had gotten up. But the point is, I've never heard that another teacher got wounded. I just heard that 2 teachers died, but I never heard that another teacher was wounded.
Right, I haven't heard that on the news. That's That's something new that they must have held back from the news, I guess.
The gunman bought the guns with his money from Wendy's. He worked at a fast food restaurant. That's how he bought the guns. Got $1,000 to spend. So on the weapons. Here's my mom. She's gonna come speak. Hold on. Go ahead. T.
Oh, hey, yeah, I'm confused as well because I thought there was only 2.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get my other device because my talk feature's on and I don't feel like fumbling with trying to get it situated. I'll have to find another device where I can play his commentary because now this is very strange. All you keep hearing is two teachers dead. I have not heard that one teacher was wounded.
Right. And see, I remember when we were talking about this the last time, there was something about him shooting into a class, like the window, and shooting a teacher and a student, but we never found anything about that either.
Shot through the wall when they were outside in the hall. He shot at the door, and the bullets went through the wall, through the door, out through the wall. So obviously, those bullets possibly went, maybe let's say, across the hall and shot this teacher, I'm assuming.
But then, but then the teacher is saying that he told him to lay down, his students just to lay down.
Yeah, but then he got up. So maybe when the bullets were going through the wall, that's how he got shot when he got up. Remember he said, I got up?
Okay.
Well, but he says that he feels he let those children down, and if they can forgive him. So I don't know if he got in there, the gunman got in there or not.
I don't know either. Because he said that some of his students stayed to watch a movie, and that's exactly what the other 2 classrooms were doing.
Okay.
They were going to watch a movie.
Let's try it again on this one here. Oh God, come on, don't start this. Oh, Lord have mercy. I'm so sick of this story starting to really agitate me.
The police there are facing mounting criticism over the response to that school shooting that left 19 kids and 2 teachers dead. One teacher, Robb, I was there with you when you got word yesterday that you were going to be doing this interview with the teacher that was in there, and just knowing you were going to get the interview, your heart kind of dropped because you couldn't imagine what he was going to tell you.
Yes, this is a teacher. He's been a teacher for 17 years. His sole goal was to help make these children into better, stronger, more educated kids, and he was not equipped to handle what happened in his classroom. You know, the class was enjoying. This was the last week of school, and then suddenly they faced the worst nightmare you can imagine. I just want to warn our viewers, it is extremely difficult to hear him tell what happened in that classroom.
I said, if I die, don't let it be in vain.
Arnulfo Reyes, the 4th grade teacher in room 111 at Robb Elementary School, telling his story for the first time as he recovers in the hospital.
It was our we ate breakfast together.
Reyes says May 24th started like any other day, except the students were celebrating.
It was going to be a good day because it was going to be our day of awards.
While some students went home after the ceremony, 11 from his class stayed behind. They were watching a movie when all of a sudden gunfire rang out.
The kids started asking out loud, Mr. Reyes, what is going on? And I said, I don't know what's going on, but let's go ahead and get under the table. And act like you're asleep. As they were doing that, and I was gathering them under the table and told them to act like they were going to sleep, is about the time when I turned around and saw him standing there.
Reyes shot twice, a bullet hitting him in the arm and lung,
Saw
and
him
a
standing
separate
there.
one striking his back. The 17-year teaching veteran hitting the ground.
I told my kids to act like they're asleep, so I'm going to act like I'm asleep also.
While the horror was unfolding, parents outside begging for police to save their children.
You know that there are kids, right? They're little kids. They don't know how to defend themselves.
Did you feel abandoned in that moment by police, by the people who are supposed to protect you?
Absolutely. After everything I get more angry because you have a bulletproof vest. I had nothing.
So the shooter killed every single student in your classroom.
Yes, ma'am. That's when I got to thinking, this family lost one. This family lost one. I lost 11 that day. I joined my parents and I'm sorry. I tried my best. Please don't be angry with me.
Reyes says no training could have prepared them for this. Even though the school had extensive protocols, he says laws have to change.
We trained our kids to sit under the table, and that's what I thought of, at the time. But we set them up to be like ducks. You can give us all the training you want, but but laws have to change.
He's making it his mission to honor the lives lost.
I will not let these children and my coworkers die in vain.
He wants gun laws to change. He wants the age that is required to purchase a gun to be risen beyond 18. The shooter was 18 years old, a few days past his birthday, bought not one, but two AR-15s, one of which was used in that mass shooting, and you can feel his pain and his anger. I want to point out, too, he's in back surgery today. He's had several surgeries already. He has a long road to physical recovery, but the emotional recovery, he says, and understandably so, he is scarred for life. He said he can never teach. He can never walk into a classroom again. That guilt he feels for being the only one who survived in that classroom, it is gut-wrenching, it is unthinkable, and our hearts and our prayers go out to him and what he's working through right now, having witnessed all of that.
But he's saying, and look, we talk about the criticism of police. I know an investigation is going on, but the teacher is apologizing to the parents for his responsibility not protecting, and that's not something the parents have heard from police yet.
That is correct. And then he very much said if they had come in to that classroom when they came in 3 times in the hallway, they absolutely would have saved lives because that shooter was taking his time with
what is he saying?
Rounds of gunfire.
Wait. We gotta repeat that again. Hold on, we'll go back.
Oh, wow.
It's unthinkable, and our hearts and our prayers go out to him and what he's working through right now, having witnessed all of that.
But he's saying, and look, we talk about the criticism of police. I know an investigation is going on, but the teacher is apologizing to the parents for his responsibility not protecting, and that's not something the parents have heard from police yet.
That is correct. And then he very much said if they had come in to that classroom when they came in 3 times in the hallway, they absolutely would have saved lives because that shooter was taking his time with multiple rounds of gunfire.
What do you mean come in the hallway 3 times?
Fans, Robin Roberts here.
I don't understand what she's saying.
Apparently, the officers was in that hallway 3 different times, and they still didn't get in that room.
That make no sense.
They wouldn't go in the room.
They're doing a lot of covering up.
Well, what did I just hear? Because this makes no sense. You've never mentioned a third teacher, period, in any conversations from day one. So now you have a third teacher saying they were shot, that they heard them go in the hallway 3 times. How could you hear them go in the hallway? He said this don't make no sense. So that means what? How many people are initially there? At what time did they go to the other classrooms to get the other people out of the rooms? Because somebody had to be going to the other rooms, remember, to get the other teachers out. So now you got to ask yourself that question. How many rooms did they evacuate? Because remember, they were only going through the windows as not to alert him of them going in the hallway.
They had to have been evacuating the classrooms that's around those 2 classrooms as well.
Right, but he said we only broke out windows because we didn't want him to hear us in the hallway. He didn't want them to hear the children in the hallway. So see, that's why I kept saying, it seemed like to me your only focus was the other rooms. You keep crying about the 500. Oh, I am happy that 500 are living. But a shooter was in one room with multiple children and 2 teachers. Now we've got another teacher crying. Well, guess what? He stood in my room. He said he stood there. shot me in my back.
Mm-hmm.
So how the hell did he get it?
And the newswoman said it's the first time that fella has spoken out. I imagine when you've got an adult witness who can say, "Oh, gee, they were in the hallway. The police were in the hallway 3 times and wouldn't come help us." You know, sometimes it's better when people are dead, for the police at least.
It also adds up to the little girl saying that the shooter
I
opened
heard
the
him
door.
go in the hallways, what that little girl said.
Mm-hmm.
And I questioned both sides because I said, why is her version different? If you're in a hallway, how's the shooter in the hallway with you? What's the timeline of the shooter being in the hallway? Remember, I always said in the beginning, did he shoot them initially when he got in the school? They confronted him. He shot at them in the hallway. Then he ran in the room and locked the doors and was navigating between 111 and 112.
Mm-hmm.
But now we have a teacher. If I'm to believe he got shot through the wall, well, then how can he got shot through the wall if he's standing in the room with them?
He was a third teacher in the classroom. And it would also make it.
Say it again. He was a third teacher in the classroom.
And there had 2 adjoining classrooms.
Okay, I know that.
Right? He was in one of those classrooms, and I'm betting he was in the classroom that the little girl said she walked to. Because remember, you said, "Oh my goodness, she could have got
up." She got up. She said, "I heard him in the hallway. That's what made me get up and go to the other room to see who was alive."
She was also probably looking for another that third teacher.
And I think another one was. That's when another teacher got shot because they were talking.
Yeah.
I have to play it back again. But what I'm saying is, in the beginning of all this, you never heard of a third teacher, is what I'm saying.
Mm-mm.
All you've been hearing is 2 teachers dead, 2 teachers dead. There was never any mention of a third teacher in either room.
Right. From what he said, it was like an awards day, and I'm wondering if they didn't have more than one classroom in one room to watch that movie. And so there was more than 2, they'd have the 3 teachers, 1 for each class. I don't know.
Yeah, because the way I took it is the 3 4th grade teachers combined their classes because most of their students had went home. So the little amount that they had, they went and said, "Let's watch a movie."
2 can't talk because they're dead.
Mm-hmm.
So that leaves him to tell what room he was actually in, if he was actually in his own damn room, and we're now talking about 3 classrooms. Because remember, he said most of his left. But in this commentary, you don't hear him saying, yeah, she and I were co-teaching. You get where I'm going?
He doesn't mention another teacher.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He doesn't say that. He's just saying my class. They left. I had 11 left. He doesn't share. He's not saying there was another teacher with him earlier.
I wonder if there's more to that interview.
Huh?
I wonder if there's more to that interview than what the clip than what they're playing. Do you know how they have like a longer interview? They only play a clip.
Show you bits and pieces. I don't know, but I'll tell you what's going to be jacked up is if we find out there were 3 classrooms.
Yeah.
And they all adjoined each other. They all went room to room to room to room in a damn circle.
Trying to
understand what I mean? Like a U-shaped building. All the rooms adjoined another room.
Oh.
So imagine he went 111, 112, and now maybe another room. Because remember, Arredondo is saying, well, we were in the hallway, he shot the door, and those bullets went through the wall to another classroom. So that's where I was thinking maybe that's what this is, guys, is a victim from another room across the hall.
Right. But he's saying he shot him.
He stood there and said he saw him. So it can't be he went to the wall if I saw you.
And he knew that they was there 3 different times.
And the shooter had been shooting previously because his kids asked him, what's that noise? And he says, I don't know, but get under the table. Yeah. So he was just having fun shooting it up in there, I guess. It's just so aggravating. God bless you for doing this.
Thank you, honey. Thank you so much, Betsy. This is so jacked up right now. I heard them 3 times in the hallway. So that means they all were taking turns. So now you got to go in the timeline again and chop up how many were in the hallway at different times. Yeah, 11 kids, Sheree, died. Is that what he said, right? 11?
Mm-hmm.
So he shot them all in there. This is okay. I'm just...
I'm going to have to go back to the beginning.
Ain't no... Look, if you go back, you're just going to be just as jacked up if you go to the beginning. Because it ain't adding up. Something ain't right. The sequence is not right. Who was where? Who was on first? Who was on second? When you actually got shot? Who got shot? When were the officers actually shot? That's where the problem is coming in. It's when he went in the building, went around the corner, went in 111, 112, start shooting everybody, and then they came on the scene, and then he eventually shot at the door. They shot back. That's where the problem is.
Yeah.
It's the first beginning of the shootings. Because now we're hearing of a teacher that survived. I have not heard of a teacher surviving until seeing this in the queue. I was seeing it maybe yesterday, but I just wouldn't open the videos up. Nobody has mentioned a teacher surviving or being another teacher in one of the rooms. And you still want to say you defend what happened was appropriate protocol.
Oh, it definitely wasn't.
And now he says he heard a child saying, "We're in here." So that means you can't say that you thought they all were dead. I'm livid right now. Oh my God. I got to throw up. Because how can another teacher hear it if they weren't in the actual room with the kid? But that wouldn't make any sense, because if I ain't in that room, I ain't going to say, I heard a child say, "We're in here." I would say, my child said, "Hey, we're in here." See where I'm going?
Right.
So that's a separate room. He just said it. I heard a child say, "Hey, we're in here." So that means he was in another room. This teacher. So you're talking about either an adjoining room or a whole nother room. Oh my God, I'm dead. This is crazy. This is crazy. Now they're going to have to beat a child's brain. You see where I'm going? Every kid now is going to have to go verbatim back over what happened, who said what. And naturally, they're not going to remember a time, unless you got a really, a meticulous kid.
Right.
So what are you trying to say? 2 teachers in one room and 1 teacher in one room?
That's what I'm thinking, yes. Because he said he was in room 111 or something like that, which is the same number as one of the 2 classrooms.
Yeah, 111 and 112.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm sitting here thinking, God, don't tell me there's another room.
Yeah. So he was in there with another teacher. And I can't remember which room was Miss Garcia, because I think that was the room that the shooter went into was 111. But I could be wrong on that. It could have been 112.
But I'm just saying,
remember.
Even if there's 2 teachers in a room, I don't ever remember hearing that there were 2 in one room. That's what I'm saying. Everything's been focused on 2 teachers.
Right.
Never heard of a 3rd teacher being present in one of the rooms. That's where I have the problem. That's why I'm looking at this person like, who the hell is this person talking?
Right. That's why I'm like, I need to find like the beginning of it that was at the very beginning when it was happening, when they were talking about this many victims, not how many passed, but victims
yeah.
that they knew, that they knew was going on. Because there were some at the hospital already.
Yeah, but see, what do you mean some was at the hospital already?
There were some, I remember as the day was going, there were some at the hospital, and then...
How could somebody be at the hospital, T, and they hadn't even pulled anybody out of the room?
Because they were talking about how one had passed already. That was at the
Nobody
hospital.
came out of the room, babe.
Then I must be getting my time and everything's mushed together.
You gotta remember, everything we're talking about is coming out this joker's mouth. You remember he said, I went to the community center and they're waiting on me to come tell them who all is left behind in the school alive. And sadly, I could not tell them that I had any more children alive. That was Dark 30.
Okay. Yeah, I'm completely out wrong on that one.
No, that's okay. But you can't keep up.
No.
And this is why I always tell people about the news. People like to get very angry at the news. What people fail to realize is that the news gets a version from somebody. So that's all they have to give you is somebody's version.
Right.
So when you got 4 or 5 different versions coming out of a schoolhouse, you can't get mad at the news. They're only repeating what you told them.
Right.
And now you have this man who now wants to say, hey, I was just a first responder. Oh, you the ambulance driver now? You just an innocent bystander. Well, hell, you should just went and took lunch.
For me, what he said for me that was a smack in the face was the whole him being alive and being able to go home.
That's all he was thinking about in the beginning, because that's all he was focused on. When I start this article off, that's the first thing he says. We were thinking just of the children and the teachers. No, you were not. You were thinking, damn it, I ain't got no damn helmet on. I don't have no body armor. My staff don't have no body armor. I got to get some body armor. I got to get to these keys. I got to get a sniper. Well, I'm going to ask him right now, where is the sniper? Where was the sniper? Who is the sniper? What do you need a sniper for when you're crying about you didn't even want to break the damn windows out in the classroom because you're worrying about him, the sniper shooting up the kids in the classroom? That's the risk you take. That's why you're supposed to look through the damn window first before you shoot through the window. You just think they hire snipers in war to just say, hey, go sit on top of that building, just shoot up all the damn windows out.
Right.
That's a scope on a damn gun. That's what it's for.
A sniper knows not to take a shot unless it's a clear shot.
Exactly. That's his or her job, yes.
Yeah.
It's a scope on it for a reason. So you want me to sit here and believe that you couldn't go up to the window of that classroom, both, and look through that scope to see the shooter in all black, even with the lights off. Talking about, oh, it was dark and they had to cut. Well, the guys who finally breached the door didn't have no problem killing him. So see that you're contradicting yourself.
Well, plus there's such things as night vision and thermal vision that police should have anyway. A sniper should have.
Right. So that's why I said he's contradicting himself when you say, I called on my phone to get the tactical gear, the keys, and a sniper. Well, what the hell was the sniper coming in? Just a bathing suit and a swim cap and a damn gun? What are you saying?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to make light of this, but you sound stupid saying I called for a sniper, but then say, well, I just wanted to get the other 500 out. And I didn't want to break the glass out of the room that the children were in because I didn't want somebody shooting in those rooms and shoot the children and the teachers by mistake. You don't even hear what you're saying. You're contradicting yourself.
Right, because first you're saying, okay, well, we thought he had killed all the kids and his teachers. But yeah, I don't want to break windows and start shooting and stuff because of the teachers and the kids. It really doesn't make sense what he's saying. And he really is contradicting himself. And he's worrying about and scared of breaking a window, but again, was okay standing by a door with a bunch of keys. So they had to have known the shooter was not shooting.
So the principal, he don't got no keys. She don't got no keys to the building. That's the stupidest thing I ever heard in my life. Our principal has no spare keys. I'm over it.
Well, when
how could question?
Oh, go.
If there was a steel bar across the door, how would a key open the door?
That's just to secure the door, I guess. Not maybe a steel bar, but whatever a jam is, it's probably built in the door to keep the door from being kicked with the foot. So you know how you on a regular wooden door, you can just go up and kick it with your foot and it'll pop open. When it's still in force, it's metal in the door, which would keep a regular foot from breaching the door.
So does the key make the metal part, the steel part, release itself?
I don't.
Because again, how are you opening the door? It's jammed. You understand what I'm saying?
Steel door. Let me see what the jam means. Hold on. Basically, what he's saying is you couldn't just kick the door open. You know how most doors you can just kick open a wooden door?
Yeah.
You can't kick a steel door by foot. It'd have to be breached with something heavier. That way you can knock the metal loose. I'm assuming.
Okay.
Because you know how you hear doors getting kicked in at the wooden door. When they're still in force, it's hard to break them open with a foot.
Okay.
Because of the weight. I guess the weight of the door. I don't know. Hold on a minute. Let me see what this is.
Plus, they had to have known that there were people still alive in there, because you don't negotiate with somebody who's killed everybody. Why would you do that? It's all goofy.
Say that again, Betsy, honey.
I said, plus, they're trying to negotiate with somebody that people were alive in there, because you don't negotiate with somebody killed everybody.
Okay, hold on.
I don't know, something with the mind.
Yeah, it's echoing. Well, I turned TZs off. Okay, go ahead and speak now and see if it still echoes.
Okay, I hope not. That when he's talking about they tried to negotiate with him, they had to have known there were people alive in there, because you don't negotiate with somebody that you know has killed everyone. I mean, what's the point of negotiation at that point?
I don't know.
Yeah. It's very contradictory, the things he's saying.
I don't know. He's talking about this jam stuff, and it says, what's the purpose of a jam? JAMB. Leveling and support. The primary purpose of the door jams and the door frame as a whole is to provide a lasting support for the door. When hung, the door relies on its framing. The door jams and other components of the frame are installed with care to ensure that the door hangs level to the floor. But I don't know. What does that have to do with what he was talking about? Something's off. Something is so off. And I can't open my phone now to get to the information, because it's, oh Lord, these modern phones make me sick. Because I can't open the article now, because it's on the talk feature. I can't. Go ahead, finish. You go ahead, Bessie.
No, just that. Why would you try to negotiate with somebody who's killed everybody? And plus, like the teacher was saying, he heard them come in the hallway 3 different times.
You made a great point, because if I assume that everybody's dead, there's nothing to talk about except for, sir, are you going to come out or I'm going to come in?
Very short negotiation.
Right. So what is there to talk about?
Yeah.
Jamie says that was a lie. No negotiation at all. Well, Candy, the law in Texas says he could buy the gun. So get mad at the Texas law. You understand what I'm saying? Texas law said he could come in there and buy the gun. That's what we're crying and moaning about right now. They let him go buy the gun. And he went day for day buying one thing, ammunition. He bought a gun one day. He bought ammunition the second day. Third day, he bought another gun. They allowed him to go in there and buy the gun. And like somebody said in the commentary, you should take heed, or maybe Bessie said it, that, hey, what's this kid doing coming in here buying a damn AR-15? Then Tuesday or the next day you're coming buying the ammunition. Then the next day you're coming here buying a damn another gun. Nobody had to help him, Candy. If the law says he could buy a gun at 18, he didn't need any help. That's Texas law. He didn't need any help. He worked at Wendy's. He had a job. Obviously, he had been saving his money, possibly for this massacre. He walked into a store with ID, bought a gun. They gave it to him. What's the confusion? There's no confusion. This is why people are up in a roar, because he could easily walk in and get a gun. So then you have to ask yourself, what was the protocol for a background check? 1 day, 2 days, what? Because why am I going to let you buy a gun today and then wait on a background check? That means I shouldn't have been able to buy a gun day one if I got to wait for the background check.
Well, it's an instant. The next check is pretty. You do it online. You submit it there at the gun shop, and they tell you within a matter of minutes if you.
Okay, that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
What was the protocol even on the background check? 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, what?
Probably 15 to 30 minutes.
Right,
Yeah.
and I knew it couldn't have been long because he bought ammunition day 2. And then on day 3, he bought another gun. So this wasn't, you know what I'm saying? 2-3 day wait on a background check. This is bullshit. This is a sickening. What do you mean you think it's an inside job? Man, Candy, come on, don't do this. Nah, I'm not aiding that type of nonsense. So basically, you're saying to somebody in the school, what, let him in to come kill the kids? That's what you're saying? I don't do conspiracy theories. Let me get TZ. I blocked her or unmute her. Unmute yourself, T.
Okay.
Yeah, that's you. That's you. Right.
Oh, I'm still echoing.
Go on. Let me volume down. Maybe you can talk. Go ahead.
Okay. Is that better?
I just can't say anything.
I'm just speechless on it all. And then I was reading that lady's comment, and I'm like, nah, I can't do that today.
Yeah.
I can't.
Well, you're implicating a staff member for aiding death.
What was that?
She's aiding. Basically saying somebody from the school is aiding the death.
Right. I can't. And it says something about 80 grand. I'm like, I have no idea of what you're talking about, lady. So
I know how to stop. How about that?
This is crazy. But
you don't need a conspiracy with a law.
Right. I mean, he did it legally.
Exactly. Anything else you want to say? Let me block. Hold on. I'm 227. I'm gonna check out of here. Basically, anything you want to end this live on? I'll probably do another video about the third teacher.
Well, just
open the door because I can't find that article for some reason.
I'll look forward to that, and I just appreciate you for letting us speak. And I listen to your show all the time, and I enjoy it.
Oh, really? I didn't know. Well, thank you.
Yeah. So take care, and
okay, you be safe down there.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks for talking to us. Okay, everybody. That's Bessie from New Mexico. I got T. All right, T. Finish on out. Can
you hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you for having me on your panel, and I enjoyed it today.
Thank you.
You have a good evening.
I will. I just think this every day. I take a break. Because there's always something to do.
Yeah. I have a feeling there's more to this than anybody knows. And I hate it.
That's two people now saying they were in the hallway, moving around. I thought you said you all were being quiet. So why is the teacher now saying her in the hall? The girl says she heard she go in the hall. I'm confused.
Yeah. Yeah. I hate it.
All right.
But I'm gonna get off here, okay?
Okay. Have a good weekend.
All right, you too.
Okay, bye-bye. All right, everybody. That's T, my mod. Thank you, Betsy from New Mexico, for giving your commentary. This information here about the other teacher who obviously was in one of the rooms, 111, 112, which is however, is interesting to me because I only assumed that there were two teachers navigating the rooms, the two adjoining rooms. Now we hear of a third teacher who was obviously in one of the rooms allegedly, until I get confirmation on the, I have to go back and re-listen again, who was wounded. So maybe there was two teachers in a room. Nonetheless, all of it's still conflicting with one of the children who's come forward to speak on her going into another room, adjoining room, to see who was alive when she heard the shooter go in the hallway. Then now we hear this wounded teacher saying that they were shot in the room, shot in the back, and they heard police officers in the hallway, I guess, moving around 3 times. So one should say, if he heard them moving around out there, then the shooter would have heard them moving around. If the shooter's in the room with them, how is it that he couldn't hear? I'm confused at all this information. All these different versions and stories are just baffling to me. And I still need to bring commentary about the teacher who opened the door. I thought I had the article, but I couldn't find it. But I will recap another live pertaining to this information because, as I said, it just seems to be varying. Week 2 now is still varying information. And Arredondo is backing the late response by he and his officers. He's downplaying his role as a first responder and not an incident commander. So far, no other law officials are giving commentary. This is not a criminal investigation. State's investigating. The state congressional is investigating, and also the Department of Justice. And as Ms. Betsy said, the Justice Department wouldn't be just investigating for no reason, even though it's not criminal yet. And will it become criminal? Should it be a criminal investigation? Should somebody stand account for what happened in Uvalde besides the shooter himself, who was dead? Can't make him pay. He's gone. Didn't have anything. Parents are filing a $100 million lawsuit, obviously against the city. Will they get the money? It's a civil suit. And usually civil suits are granted when criminal suits don't come to fruition or get a guilty verdict. Lord have mercy. You want to donate to the channel? $ Big Angie, 129 Cash App. Thank y'all so much for your support and tuning in. You all have a safe weekend. Please go to my community board for the latest updates to stories that I may not talk about in a video. One of my movie suggestions for this evening, tonight, Friday Night Delight, is Body of Sin. And the other movie of the week is Obsessed to Death. Both movies are playing on Tubi through Roku. Thank you all so much. Thank you, T. I'll talk to you all later. Oh, what a day. You all be safe. Thank you for tuning in. If you see something, say something. Be a part of the solution and not the problem. Mind the children. Everybody have a safe and blessed weekend. This is Everyday Shenanigans. Thank you all so much.